The intervention, that's what Mom called it, was scheduled for Saturday morning at the family house. Not a request but a summons delivered via group text. Family meeting. 10 a.m. Everyone must attend. I arrived to find the usual suspects. Mom and Dad in their matching recliners, my sister Vanessa on the couch with her fiancé Derek, and my brother Kyle leaning against the wall looking uncomfortable. Everyone had coffee except me. No one had asked if I wanted any. "Brooke, sit down," Mom said, gesturing to the lone folding chair they'd set up facing everyone else. I was on trial. I sat pulling out my phone. "What's this about?" "We need to discuss your living situation," Dad began using his crisis management voice, the one from his years as a high school principal. "And Vanessa's needs." Vanessa shifted on the couch, her hand moving to her stomach in that way pregnant women do when they want everyone to remember they're pregnant. "Derek and I have been looking at places. Everything in our budget is too small or in terrible neighborhoods. Meanwhile," Mom continued, taking over seamlessly, "you have that beautiful 2-bedroom condo downtown. Perfect location, great schools nearby, plenty of space for a baby." I saw where this was going. "Pie condo." "Yes, your condo." Mom said it like she was being patient with a slow child. "Brooke, you're 35 years old. Single. No kids. You work from home, you could work from anywhere. Vanessa is starting a family. She needs that space more than you do. She deserves it more," Dad added. "She's building something real. A marriage, a family, a future. Unlike me," was the implication. With my unmarried, childless existence and my vague remote work, that they'd never quite understood. Vanessa leaned forward, her voice taking on that sweet tone she used when she wanted something. "Brooke, please. We're desperate. Mom and Dad offered to help with a down payment, but everything we can afford is so far from Derek's work. Your place would be perfect. And you barely use it anyway, you're always traveling." "I travel for work." "Exactly," Mom said triumphantly. "You're never there. Why hold on to a 2-bedroom condo when your sister needs it to raise your niece or nephew?" "We'd pay you rent," Derek offered weakly. "Eventually. Once we're on our feet financially." I looked around at all of them, at their expectant faces, their certainty that I'd agree, their complete assumption that my life and my property were somehow negotiable. "So you want me to just give Vanessa my condo?" I asked calmly. "Transfer it to her," Dad corrected. "We'll handle the paperwork. It's the right thing to do for family." "The family thing to do," I repeated. "Yes," Mom said firmly. "Your sister needs you. This is what family does. We help each other. We sacrifice for the greater good." I nodded slowly, pulling out my phone. "Okay." They all relaxed, smiles breaking out. "That was easy," their faces said. "I just need to make one call first," I said, scrolling through my contacts. "Brooke, we don't need to involve lawyers yet," Dad said nervously. "We can work this out as a family." "Not a lawyer." I hit dial and put the phone to my ear. "Hi, James. It's Brooke. Yeah, I need you to come to my parents' house. Right now if possible. We have a situation. No, not an emergency exactly, but they want to discuss transferring one of my properties and I think you should be present." "Perfect. See you in 20. I hung up and looked at their confused faces. "My property manager is coming." "Property manager?" Vanessa frowned. "Why do you have a property manager?" "For my properties. James handles the day-to-day management, tenant issues, maintenance, rent collection. He's excellent." "Rent collection?" Kyle spoke for the first time, pushing off from the wall. "You're a landlord?" "I prefer real estate investor, but yes." Mom's voice sharpened. "What are you talking about? You work in tech support or something. You don't own properties." "I work in software development consulting, actually. And I own quite a few properties. The condo downtown is just one of them." The doorbell rang before anyone could respond. I stood. "That'll be James." I opened the door to find James Chin, 45, professionally dressed, carrying his ever-present tablet and a leather portfolio. "Brooke. I got here as fast as I could. Thanks for coming. My family wants to discuss transferring my properties and I thought you should be present." His eyebrows rose. "Transferring? Without your authorization? They haven't gotten that far yet. Come on in." I led James into the living room. He stood beside my folding chair, radiating professional competence in his suit and tie while my family stared at him in confusion. Everyone, this is James Chin. He manages my residential property portfolio. James, this is my family. They've just informed me that my sister needs my downtown condo, and they expect me to transfer it to her. James's expression didn't change, but I saw the muscle in his jaw tighten. I see. Miss Patterson, should I pull up the property files? Please do. He opened his tablet and navigated to a folder. The downtown condo at 2847 Riverside Drive. 2 bedrooms, 2 baths, 1,400 square feet. Purchased 7 years ago for $280,000. Current market value approximately $425,000. You've declined multiple offers to sell despite the appreciation. Because I live there, I said. Yes. James looked at my family. This property is Ms. Patterson's primary residence. Who exactly is requesting the transfer? We're her family, Mom said, finding her voice. This is a family matter. We don't need some property manager involved. If you're discussing transferring Ms. Patterson's primary residence, I absolutely need to be involved. I have fiduciary responsibility to protect her assets. James tapped his tablet. Though I'm confused about which property you want. Ms. Patterson owns 16 residential units across 4 buildings. The downtown condo is just one of them. The room went dead silent. 16. Dad's voice came out as a whisper. James continued, oblivious to or ignoring the shock in the room. 4 properties are single-family homes she rents out. 8 are condo units in 3 different buildings, including her residence. And 4 are townhouses in the renovated district. Plus she owns a commercial property on Main Street, though that's not residential so I don't manage it. That's 17 properties, Kyle said faintly. 18 if you count the commercial space, I corrected. 19 if you count the duplex I just closed on last week, but James hasn't added that to his management roster yet. Vanessa's mouth had fallen open. You own 19 properties? 19 and counting. I'm looking at a small apartment building next month. 6 units. Good bones, needs some updating, but the location is prime for appreciation. How? Mom demanded. How is this possible? You don't have that kind of money. I started 10 years ago with a VA loan on a small house. I lived there while fixing it up, then rented it out when I bought my second property with an FHA loan. I've been leveraging equity and rental income to build from there. I shrugged. It's not complicated. Just patient investing and good financial management. Dad stood up, face reddening. You've been secretly buying properties for 10 years and never told us? It wasn't a secret. You never asked. You assumed I was doing something with computers and barely making ends meet because I drive an old car and don't buy designer clothes. But you're always traveling. Vanessa protested. For work. I consult for tech companies at $250 an hour. Last year I grossed $320,000 in consulting fees alone. The rental income adds another $180,000 annually before expenses. $500,000? Mom looked like she might faint. Roughly. Before taxes and expenses. After everything, my net income last year was about $380,000. James cleared his throat. Miss Patterson is one of my most successful clients. She's built an impressive portfolio through smart acquisitions and careful property management. Which is why I'm concerned about any discussion of transferring assets to family members. We're not trying to steal from her. Derek said defensively. Aren't you? James raised an eyebrow. You want her to give you a $425,000 asset, her home, because you think she doesn't need it as much as you do. That's not a gift. That's exploitation of family relationships. That's not fair. Vanessa was crying now. We just need help. We can't afford anything decent and Brooke has so much. So much that I built myself, I said quietly. So much that I earned through 60-hour work weeks and smart investing and living below my means for years. I drove that old car so I could save down payments. I skipped vacations so I could buy properties. I made choices, Vanessa. We make choices too, she snapped. Do you? I pulled out my phone and opened my banking app, turning it to show James. Can you pull up the financial analysis we did last month? The one where we compared my spending to average Americans in my income bracket. James nodded and tapped his tablet. You spend approximately 40% of what typical high earners spend on lifestyle expenses. No luxury cars, no designer shopping, minimal dining out. Most of your income goes to property investments and retirement accounts. I turned to my sister. Vanessa, you and Derek drove up in a leased BMW. You're wearing a Gucci bag. Your engagement ring cost more than my entire year's clothing budget. You make choices too. You just choose to spend on status symbols while I chose to build wealth. That's not. We deserve nice things. So do I. I deserve to keep my home that I bought with my own money through my own work. My voice rose for the first time. You don't get to decide that your wants outweigh my rights to my own property. Mom tried to regain control. Brooke, please. You're being selfish. You have so much and your sister has so little. She has exactly what she can afford based on her choices. That's not my problem to solve by giving away my home. Dad's voice turned hard. If you don't help your sister, you're not the daughter we raised. The daughter you raised built a multi-million-dollar real estate portfolio by 35. I'd say you raised someone pretty capable. I stood up. James, thank you for coming. I think we're done here. Wait. Vanessa struggled up from the couch. You can't just leave. We need that condo. Then buy one. Or rent one you can actually afford. Or adjust your lifestyle to match your income. I headed for the door, James following. If you walk out that door, don't expect to be part of this family anymore. Dad's voice boomed. I turned back. Dad, you just tried to guilt me into giving away my home. I haven't been part of this family for a while. I've been the backup plan. The safety net. The solution to problems I didn't create. We're your family. Mom's voice cracked. Then act like it. Family doesn't steal from each other. Family doesn't dismiss each other's accomplishments. Family doesn't expect one person to sacrifice their security for another's comfort. I walked out, James beside me. We stood by our cars in the driveway, the morning sun suddenly feeling too bright. That was rough, James said. It was necessary. They really had no idea about your portfolio? None. I kept it quiet because. I gestured back at the house. Because of this. The moment they knew I had money, it became family money. Are you okay? I took a shaky breath. I will be. The texts started within an hour. Angry ones from Vanessa calling me heartless. Disappointed ones from Mom about family values. Even Kyle sent one. That was brutal, but I get it. They were way out of line. I ignored most of them. 3 days later, Vanessa showed up at my condo. My beautiful, hard-earned, definitely not being transferred condo. I almost didn't let her in, but curiosity won. Nice place, she said, looking around with barely concealed envy. Really nice. Thanks. I Googled you, she said abruptly. Found an article about female real estate investors in the city. You were featured. Brooke Patterson, 35, has built a portfolio of nearly 20 properties through strategic investing and careful financial management. That's what it said. I didn't know they'd published that yet. There's a photo of you at one of your properties. You look successful. Confident. She sank onto my couch. I never saw you that way before. I just saw boring Brooke with the old car and the quiet life. The boring life that made me a millionaire. Yeah. She was quiet for a moment. Derek and I talked. A lot. About our spending, our expectations, our entitlement. And we found a place. 2-bedroom apartment in a decent neighborhood. Not as nice as this, but it's what we can actually afford. We signed the lease yesterday. That's good, Vanessa. Really? I'm sorry, she said, meeting my eyes. For assuming you should give me your home. For thinking you owed me something just because you have more. For never asking about your work or your life or your success. Thank you. Mom and Dad are still angry. Let them be angry. Kyle said you were right. He said they've always treated you like you were less important because you didn't follow the traditional path. Marriage, kids, visible success. He said your success was invisible, so they thought it didn't exist. I sat down beside her. It's been invisible because I made it that way. Because I learned early that talking about money or success made me a target. So I stayed quiet and built my empire in the shadows. Some empire, she said, a hint of admiration in her voice. 19 properties. $500,000 in income. And here I am with my Gucci bag and my leased BMW, struggling to afford an apartment. You can build something too, Vanessa. Just make different choices. Can you teach me? The question came out small, vulnerable. About investing, about building wealth instead of just spending? I looked at my little sister, entitled, spoiled, but maybe finally ready to grow. Yeah, I said. I can teach you. 6 months later, Vanessa and Derek sold the BMW, paid off the Gucci bag debt, and started following the budget I'd helped them create. They wouldn't be buying properties anytime soon, but they were building savings. Learning to live below their means. Making different choices. Mom and Dad took longer to come around. 8 months after the disaster meeting, Dad called. I saw the article, he said without preamble. The one about real estate investors. You were listed as one of the city's top female property owners under 40. Yeah. Why didn't you tell us? Would it have mattered? Before you tried to take my condo. Long silence. No. Probably not. We didn't see you clearly, Brooke. We saw what we expected to see. The unmarried daughter without kids, so obviously struggling, obviously less successful than her married siblings. Obviously wrong, I said. Obviously wrong, he agreed. I'm sorry. I'm sorry we tried to take your home. I'm sorry we dismissed your success. I'm sorry we made you feel invisible. Thank you. Can we start over? Can I actually get to know the daughter who built an empire instead of the daughter I imagined? I thought about holding on to anger, about keeping walls up, about protecting myself. Then I thought about the empire I'd built, not just of properties but of strength, independence, self-worth. Strong enough to enforce boundaries. Strong enough to demand respect. Strong enough to forgive. Yeah, Dad. We can start over. A year after the intervention that wasn't, we gathered again at my parents' house. But this time was different. Dad asked me about my latest acquisition. A small apartment building I'd just closed on. Mom listened as I explained my investment strategy. Vanessa showed me her 6-month emergency fund, proud and amazed she'd saved it. Kyle pulled me aside at one point. You changed everything that day. With the property manager, the documents, the refusal to back down. I set boundaries. You did more than that. You made everyone see you clearly for the first time. Made us see what you'd built while we weren't paying attention. After dinner, I stood on the back porch looking at the yard where we'd played as kids. Mom joined me. I'm proud of you, she said quietly. I should have said that years ago. Should have said it every time you bought a property, every time you made a smart investment, every time you chose delayed gratification over instant satisfaction. You're saying it now. That matters. Your sister's different because of you. She's learning to build instead of just consume. That's a gift. She's doing the work herself. Because you showed her it was possible. Mom squeezed my hand. Thank you for not giving up on us. For standing firm even when we were awful. For teaching us what real success looks like. I squeezed back. You're welcome. Later, driving home to my condo, my beautiful, hard-earned, never-given-away condo, I thought about empire building. The kind with properties and assets and wealth. And the kind with boundaries and self-respect and the courage to say no. I'd built both. And both were mine.